Hello and welcome to This Date in History, aka TDH. This show is all about the events that occurred today in years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things I personally find intriguing enough for me to bring to you. The source, of course, of this information comes from a smart device application on this day. The music in the background is Home by Konac, which I found on the YouTube channel No Copyright Sounds, aka NCS. And as always, for links to the app, music, and anything else potentially interesting, check the underbar. Now let's get on with the show, shall we? Today is Wednesday, aka Wednesday, August 10th, 2016. In 2012, the Marikana massacre began near Rustenburg, South Africa, resulting with the murders of 47 people. In 2009, 20 people lost their lives in Handlova, Tenshin region in the deadliest mining disaster in Slovakia's history. In 2003, Yuri Malenchenko became the first human to marry in outer space. Now that is interesting. He was in space and she was on the ground. Does that mean he had to get married while floating above the same country she was in due to laws, regulations, and jurisdictions? Or does it matter when one or both people are in orbit? How does that work? Also in 2003, the highest temperature ever recorded in the United Kingdom occurred in Kent, England at 38.5 degrees Celsius or 101.3 degrees Fahrenheit. It was the first time the 100 degree Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius barrier was broken in the country. In 2001, the 2001 Angola train attack occurred, which resulted in the deaths of 252 people. In 1995, Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols were indicted for the Oklahoma City bombing. Michael Fortier pled guilty in a plea bargain for his testimony. In 1990, over 127 Muslims were murdered in northeast Sri Lanka by paramilitary troops. Also in 1990, the Magellan space probe reached Venus. In 1988, U.S. President Ronald Reagan signed the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, providing $20,000 payments to Japanese U.S. citizens who were earlier interned or relocated by the United States during World War II. In 1981, the head of John Walsh's son was discovered. This finding prompted the creation of the television series America's Most Wanted. In 1978, 3 members of the Ulrich family died in an accident, prompting the Ford Pinto litigation. In 1977, 24-year-old postal employee David Berkowitz, aka Son of Sam, was arrested in Yonkers, New York, for a series of murders in the New York City area over the span of 1 year. In 1971, the Society for American Baseball Research, aka SABR, was founded in Cooperstown, New York. Well, they make a society for everything nowadays, it seems. In 1969, a day after murdering Sharon Tate and 4 others, members of Charles Manson's cult murdered Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. In 1961, Agent Orange was used for the first time by the U.S. Army during the Vietnam conflict. In 1949, U.S. President Harry S. Truman signed the National Security Act Amendment, streamlining the defense agencies of the United States government and replacing the Department of War with the United States Department of Defense. In more or less the words of George Carlin, euphemistic language, the act of changing the name of one thing into a different name, all for PR purposes. Well, guess what? The Department of Defense is the Department of War. We're not defending anything, we're attacking, come on. In 1948, Candid Camera made its television debut after having been on radio for a year as Candid Microphone. In 1932, a 5.1 kilogram or 11-pound chondrite-type meteorite broke into at least 7 pieces and landed near the town of Archie in Cass County, Missouri. In 1920, during the aftermath of World War I, Ottoman Sultan Mehmed VI's representative signed the Treaty of Sevres, which divided the Ottoman Empire between the Allies. In 1901, the U.S. Steel Recognition Strike by the Amalgamated Association of Iron and Steel Workers began. In 1864, after Uruguay's governing Blanco Party refused Brazil's demands, José Antonio Saraiva announced that the Brazilian military would begin reprisals, thus beginning the Uruguayan War. In 1846, the Smithsonian Institution was chartered by the United States Congress after James Smithson donated $500,000. In 1821, Missouri was admitted as the 24th U.S. state. In 1813, Instituto Nacional, Chile's oldest and most prestigious school, was founded by Chilean patriot José Miguel Carrera. Its motto, Labor Omnia Vicit, means work conquers all things. I like that motto. Speaking of mottos, I want to share something that was hanging on one of my great-grandmother's walls. It's this thing. It is actually a newspaper cutout. And what it says, press on. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education alone will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. This is one of my favorite possessions ever. In 1809, Quito, now the capital of Ecuador, declared independence from Spain. This rebellion, however, was crushed on August 2nd the following year. In 1793, the Musée du Louvre was officially opened in Paris, France. In 1792, during the French Revolution, during the storming of the Tuileries Palace, Louis XV of France was arrested and taken into custody as his Swiss guards were massacred by the Parisian mob. In 1776, during the American Revolutionary War, word of the United States Declaration of Independence reached London. In 1755, under the orders of Charles Lawrence, the British Army began to forcibly deport the Acadians from Nova Scotia to the 13 colonies. In 1628, the Swedish warship Vasa sunk in the Stockholm harbor after only about 20 minutes of her maiden voyage. I guess they shouldn't have had IKEA build it for them. But that explains why they're always neutral now, since they make worse military equipment than Canada makes bacon. At least France knows its place and surrenders outright. In 1519, Ferdinand Magellan's 5 ships set sail from Seville to circumnavigate the globe. Juan Sebastian Elcano, the second in command of the Basque, will complete this expedition after Magellan himself died in the Philippines. And in 1270, Yakuno Amlak took the imperial throne of Ethiopia, restoring the Solomonic dynasty to power after a 100-year zagwe interregnum. First, Jimmy Dean, 1928, Sue Yu, 1907. Pretty much that name describes the majority of the attitudes of the idiots of the country I suffer in. Herbert Hoover, 1874. Henry Nestle, 1814. And that concludes the show. Once again, check the underbar for any links you may be interested in. Don't forget to look right and left at every intersection and rate 5 thumbs and subscribe. For your dose of past events daily, I am Alexander, and you are you. Toodles!